It's changing right now, and I say that because data recently came in on like salaries and the like, and QA on average in the game industry now is like 65K, which is huge compared to when I entered. When I entered, uh, I mean, I made $10 an hour for 2 years, which is not livable at all. Like everyone I worked with in QA, we all shared apartments with other people in QA. Um, we worked, Turbine and worked 50-hour weeks the whole 2.5 years because that it was necessary, but also the overtime got me to be able to afford things. I think the good news is it seems like QA is more likely to be shifting towards how Bungie does QA, but it's still going to be infrequent because there's plenty of companies who they just shotgun contract people at it because it's cheaper to do, it's easier to do quickly. So you could end up at a position like that, which might not be fun, but it's still going to give you experience that is going to give you a huge leg up over the people who haven't been in the industry at all. If you weren't in the industry yet, I expect no specialization. I expect you're like, I'm
I'll
interested
take
in making
anything.
games and I'll, uh, if I guess I would say too, when I say specialization, I don't necessarily mean programmer versus designer. Because to me, that's a career, that's a full track. You should, like, you want to be a designer. If you haven't been a designer on a shipped title yet, do not call yourself a designer. You can totally say you like allude to it. I think it's really valuable, and I'm going to say it. And I don't necessarily expect this to stick or sink in because if someone had said it to me, it totally wouldn't have. The people who are looking at your resumes are just like you. Like think of something you've done a lot for a long time, and then imagine if you were looking at a resume for someone who wanted that job. Um, and it's not one person also who like is going to make the decision usually. So like a good example would be I'm aware a bias I have is arrogance. If someone comes off too confident to me, I start to distrust them. So when I'm reviewing resumes, if I ever see that, I have other people that I'm like, can you look at this and I have an inkling that this might be a good candidate. I need your help because I have a thing that's making me question it. And I want to make sure that I'm being fair. Uh, so like when you look at your resume and you're trying to understand is this good, using like teachers or people who are professionals and like if you even if they're not in the game industry, a tech industry job, getting their input will be helpful because there's not one golden resume. Um, the things that stand out on a resume to me are if you've shipped a game, that's a huge plus. And by the way, I'm not saying you need to ship a game before you go in the industry. Uh, Most of us got in before doing that. That's an advantage. Even if it is like a free iPhone game, like it just because there's a lot that goes into getting that onto a platform that it can be downloaded or purchased from. That oh man, if you have that experience, it's really valuable. If I saw that for someone who's not, if I see a ship game for someone who's not in the industry, I'm very intrigued by the effort they put in. And then the other things would just be like I want to clearly be able to see relevant information. For me, it's been a lot of I prefer the resumes that they list their game projects under education as like projects they worked on, not I've seen a couple that list them as jobs, and I'm like, these companies don't exist when I Google them. I don't know how you have a job here, and then I realized, oh, this was a project. Um, I find it very helpful to like be able to, without fluff, glance at a resume and see things like technical skills. I'm like, oh, you're like, here's like my top three programming languages, my top two game engines I've touched. Uh, don't put master of Microsoft Word.
Mhm.
I have seen master of Microsoft Word, master of Microsoft Windows, and a few others that are similar to like fill out those. It does not look
Yeah.
good in my opinion. And I've heard others say the same, that it just feels incredibly disingenuous. If you say master of Excel, that's believable because that program has like insane compounding depth for what you could do with it. It's dangerous for work-life balance. Like for me, it sucks to have the same computer that I use for work is the same one that I used to use to play games after work. Uh, that not having that separation. Also, the biggest impact is gonna be entirely like ergonomics. People are gonna be more sedimentary. What's the word?
Sedentary.
Maybe that's the one. They're going to move a lot less and work from home, which is actually going to trigger some very serious problems. I say this, I have a repetitive strain injury, which for the last year and a half, I've not really been able to use my hands very well. Uh, when this happened during the pandemic and work from home, I started like working on and off. I have weird hours. Right now, I'm taking a month off to try and like see what progress can be made on the recovery. But it started with back problems, shoulder problems, arm problems, like, and it got triggered by working from home. And I think that trigger was due to like moving a lot less. I wasn't walking to bathrooms or a kitchen that was away. I wasn't like walking to people's desks. Uh, and I didn't have at the time a sit and stand desk, so I was sitting all day. Um, and all of that is very bad for you. And I think the remote work world is going to encourage that in some pretty unhealthy ways, especially because in your own environment, wherever you're going to choose to work from, you don't have an IT team who's like setting